Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with episode 3 of the Stanz Show, and today's guest is none other than Aiden Calvin. You might know him as Aiden from The Yard, you might know him as Aiden from Lemonade Stand, or you might know him as Aiden who didn't do very well at Ludwig's basketball tournament. But I will say, after today's podcast, you're going to know him as Aiden, one of the most interesting people I have ever spoken with. In fact, I prepared a whole notebook of questions to ask him, and he just started yapping. So much so that I didn't crack open my notebook even one bit. The conversation flowed, and we talked so much that I had to cut him off. And I think we're going to do a second episode, maybe in a while, but he has so many more stories to tell. I cannot wait for you to get into this episode. But before we start, I have to ask you deeply from the bottom of my heart to please like, comment, subscribe. It would mean the world to me. So without further ado, my good friend, podcaster extraordinaire, Aiden Calvin.
Perfect. Aiden, how are you? You took a long trip to get here.
Oh, yeah, it's very
Although maybe that,
far
I'm not trying to dox you. Like we can, if enough people say that, we can triangulate.
No,
and then
fine. We can dox. We can dox. It's fine. Whatever happens to me, happens to me. You know.
That's an interesting mindset to have as someone that has. I don't want to say crazy fans. You're not like Aiden Ross or Asmongold or something, but like Yard fans or something else.
Yeah, there's. Without digging into the details, there is a weird subset of fan I found out about like last year that only exists beyond like locked Twitter accounts.
Ooh.
They say crazy stuff about me, man.
Crazy good or crazy bad or
crazy bad.
Right. Like they hate you or they love you too much.
Oh, they love me too much. They definitely love me too much.
I mean, that's
if what they were saying were said in any public setting, I think they would be locked up.
Sure, but they're saying it publicly, just a closed Twitter account that is only like friends that have thoughts like them.
Exactly. I think it's like a very bizarre space of the internet where you just only follow and approve locked accounts that are into the same thing that you're into.
That's like Skull and Bones because they could all take each other down, right? Like one person could just leak all of the content there. Yeah.
It's like a soft Epstein environment, I think.
Great. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
Have you ever been in any, or I guess, what is the most intense fandom you have been in? Because I'm sure you were a kid that was not Epstein-esque tweeting about yardigans, but like I'm sure you've been really into something at one point in your life. What did that look like for you?
I'm trying to think because like in a weird way, not to the degree that these fans were, but I was like, I think I have a semblance of understanding of like where this is coming from.
Right.
Like these really weird corners of the internet that are combining like fandom with fan fiction. I don't know if I got introduced to like the fandom around One Direction on Tumblr a long time ago. Like when I was like a teenager.
Sure.
And I wasn't really in it. But a friend of mine was that I played Mario Kart with.
Like in it as in like making posts, not in it as in like check out this crazy thing. Like they were a One Direction fan.
Yeah. And there was a huge, it was like a community on Tumblr who were rocking with this conspiracy that I think Harry and Liam were
in a relationship.
They were in a relationship secretly. And this just had legs, right? But then there was which I low key was into.
Right. Sorry, you're into them or you're into shipping in general or just like conspiracy theories?
No, I think I just passively enjoyed like the idea of these two, attractive male stars being into one another as a young man discovering his sexuality.
I guess that makes sense, right? Yeah. For the people who maybe don't know you, I think more people know you that watch this podcast than wouldn't, but you are a bisexual man. And so maybe that's something that is like, this can happen. It was like informative for you.
Yeah. I maybe not informative so much as like it was just fun.
Sure.
It's like people posting like cute gifs of them on stage with each other, and they're like, "Well," and
it wasn't like a joke or mean spirited. It was like, "Hey, like this is a cool thing."
Not at all. Yeah, not at all. But I think I was like peripherally aware that there was a subsection of that went a lot further. That I was like, that I don't like that.
One of the best things about the internet is that you can't see the people making those posts because I think that would make you feel even weirder about it.
Yes.
Like the people that are going that far, you find out it's like a 50-year-old truck driver in Missouri. And
And I'm like 15 on Skype.
Yeah. So. And you are equals in that environment on Tumblr. You know what I mean? Like there's no difference between the two of you.
Unfortunately, I think that's the darkness of it all, right? I mean, this is a crazy direction to take the beginning of this
Yeah,
in.
this is my favorite thing. I wrote a bunch of questions down. I prefer to never ask them because if we can just talk about this, it's like you've never talked about this before, I'm sure.
I want to be so clear. These events did not happen in conjunction with one another. Separate friend from the Mario Kart online community at the time is I'll say strictly former friend.
For the audio listeners, air quotes. Yeah.
No longer have a relationship with this person. Didn't for years. But I think I told this on the podcast a long time ago. He was a guy named David from the UK that I would play online tournaments and like clan matches with because they were teams back then. They were old video game teams were called clans for whatever reason.
Sure.
In like Call of Duty, Mario Kart, all of these games that had competitive scenes back then. And David was a guy that I played with a lot. And maybe at least for like a year or two. Keep in mind, we're like the same age at the time. We're like 15, 16, years go by. Fall out of touch with him like most people in that community, right? There are people, some certain friends you hang on to. Like there's friends I have now that I still hang out with that from that game and from that community all that time ago.
I think you mentioned you're going to go visit some of them like this weekend.
Literally
so like
next
very
week,
tight.
I'm going to hang out with my main team that I used to play with, which is super cool. And we're going to hang out and like do a sports draft, sports tournament thing that we do every year together. But this guy that I played with for a couple of those years while we were, I want to say 15 and 16, around that age, we fall out of touch. Years pass by. I find out in maybe like 2018, 2019, maybe a couple years prior to that he has been arrested because he was pretending to be Harry Styles on Skype, but would always have an excuse for why his cam was off.
Right.
To convince underage girls to like undress for him on Skype.
Oh man. I was hoping you were going to say like send him money or something that was like slightly
awful.
better.
It's awful. And then me and my friends who remember this guy are like David, like David, the guy who used the Wii wheel to play, was doing that.
Yeah. It all made sense. You're like, he was a fucking weirdo.
He was a Wii wheeler. Now that I think about it, but he goes to prison. 7. Okay, time passes. He gets out of prison. Okay. He only had like a 7-year sentence. And
you didn't like write him a letter while he was in prison or anything.
Like, the only reason I know this is because of the following part.
Okay.
So he gets out of prison. And he reoffends in the first 6 months. He's just back in prison now. He just went back to jail.
So did he reoffend? Because that is vague. Did he pretend he was Harry Styles? Is this like a new?
No, same crime. Not sure if he was still pretending to be Harry Styles. Got it. Exact crime.
But he is soliciting nudes from minors.
Soliciting minors over the internet.
Yeah, exactly. He's an Omegle guy.
Yeah, he's an Omegle guy. He's doing Omegle. And I just found that naturally this news spreads through the community again. And the news, because it's a UK news article with his mugshot in it.
Right.
And we're just like, holy, imagine spending 7 years in prison and then just immediately doing it again.
I mean, he was fiending, I bet. He's like in prison and he's like, this is what I missed.
Doing nothing to like learn your lesson or and I can never like disconnect this part of my childhood from like looking at these innocent gifs and like this weird fandom of Harry Styles and Lewis.
You were the pure side of it.
The pure side.
Was like
and then he took the darkness and used it to manipulate children. But that story always like blows my mind. It's like, oh, David, the guy that I just like spent a bunch of time talking to on Skype and like playing Mario Kart with. Yeah, he's a pedophile.
Yeah. A two-timer actually is the worst part.
Two-time.
Oh, it sucks to believe in like rehabilitative justice. Like, hey, I think that these people can all be better members of society. And this is a time for them to learn their lesson. And they get out and then they immediately do it again. And you feel like an idiot.
He just punts it.
Yeah. And for the Mario Kart community, you were not like the best and brightest.
Big L for the Mario Kart community.
Yeah. This is maybe prying too much. Is that the worst thing that's ever happened to the Mario Kart community? Ooh. Not like in person, but like anything. Some people say that like taking out the 3-lap tracks in the new Mario Kart game is the worst thing that's ever happened to Mario Kart.
Is that
you might say it's this pedophile?
That could be worse than what David did.
Really? That's what you think?
I'm just kidding.
I might agree.
I think that's probably the worst thing that's happened that I know of.
Right. And you're pretty deep in the sauce.
Yeah. But I think unfortunately like any online community that I think there are other somewhat similar stories that happened over the, that have happened over the decade plus that the game came out in 2008.
Yeah,
so it's like
millions of humans have played it, and that means a percentage of them are going to be bad people.
Exactly.
Right?
Like, I mean, unfortunately, like any space on the internet, right? I feel like there's in any community there, people end up being bad actors. I think there's this weird thing. It's kind of like, when you're growing up and you're a kid and I remember seeing somebody who is like homeless on the street, right? Or has gotten arrested or something like that, right? And you have this vague, you don't have a very good idea as a kid of who that person was before or how they got there.
They had a childhood. They had, parent, purportedly, maybe they didn't.
Because your life is just, you're a kid and you're pretty much just surrounded by other kids because you're at school and your social life is dominated by the other people around your age. And I remember having this realization at the end of high school or a couple years after high school was over, because one sort of friend in high school had started using drugs. And I think he was doing like a lot of cocaine at first, but I think he got into other stuff.
Sure.
And by the age of like 21, he had become homeless. And then he, a couple more years go by, I get some good news from a mutual friend of ours that he had gotten himself back into an apartment. He's trying to reconnect with old friends from high school. They're playing League of Legends sometimes together.
Dude, worse than heroin. You know what I mean? Don't tell me he relapsed after the League of Legends part.
And that's what happened. Another year goes by, and then he was back in the street. And I grew up, or that time in my life, I was in Washington State, and I was near this city called Bellingham, Washington. And we would go, Bellingham was like the city in the area that you went to like go watch movies and like go to the mall or whatever, right?
But people lived in the suburbs or outskirts.
Yeah, people live in these, we live in these like tiny farm towns that are basically around that area. And we would go to Bellingham and you'd see homeless people in Bellingham, right? It's like, oh, that's where the homeless people are. Like that's where the tents are. That's where people are.
They're not in our communities. They're in this.
They're in the city. And then, my Jake became one of those guys. Like literally my best friend from high school hitting me up. He was like, yep, I see him in downtown Bellingham all the time, just on the street. Right. And that was the guy we went to high school with.
And you've seen people like that, but you didn't pay him any mind, right? They were like, you were a kid. They're homeless people. They're like a different subset of people.
I think as a young person, you just lack, you lack the ability to contextualize why that person is there. They just are as you see them. And I think having these types of stories where as you get older, everybody's paths diverge and head in these different directions, right? People find cool jobs, or maybe they study something really interesting, or maybe they move to some crazy place, but other people become homeless and other people go to jail for being a pedophile, and other people just maybe do awful shit or like fall through the cracks or find themselves in just very different places in life. And but we all kind of start in like very similar places of innocence. I think that hits you a lot harder when it's someone that you grew up with who was just like a normal kid around you.
You've seen them in that same place of innocence. Like they were you at that point in time. And that actually is a very interesting question. Where do you think your life, if you were to look at it now, like diverged the most? Was there any moment, I've talked about this to like my community, but I went to college for political science and I was going to be a lawyer. And my dad always told me like, you're going to be a great lawyer. My mom's like, you study hard, go to college, whatever. And I did 4 years of political science, got my degree, and I took my LSAT, the law school admissions test. Yeah. And as I was walking there, I was like, this fucking sucks. I'm actually not going to do this. And my life completely veered another direction. Just like out of nowhere, one little choice I made. Yeah. Where I am right now talking to you is all because of like that one moment. And I'm sure I've had hundreds of those moments in my life, but to me, that is like the one. What do you think is the one for you that made you like a multi-podcast host, basketball phenom, world traveler? It's like you lead a very interesting life, but I'm sure if you think about it, there was probably like a choice you made that was like this way or that way.
Yeah, there's two big things that come to mind, and I wonder if everything would have happened if it was only one of them.
Mhm.
Very similar to you.
Mhm.
I think pretty much everything in my life from an education standpoint from my parents was like, I'm going to become a doctor.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to become a doctor, and that's what my
Do you have
parents
any
want me to
doctors
do.
in the family? Or is
No, that's just
so
what
you-
my parents.
Right, you were
is
gonna be
like,
the first one. You were
be
gonna
a doctor. You
yeah,
know?
be the hero.
Yeah. And that was the way to go. And I think I just was academically a really strong student, and I think that's the message that gets fed to you, and it's like by all these people around you.
Mhm.
I think I was more the allure of being a doctor rather than the actual job was
Right.
definitely what was appealing at the time, because I
Literally
think it's
the
just
name,
people.
like I'm gonna be a doctor, not like
Yeah.
I'm gonna, diagnose cancer or hit him in the knee and they're gonna go up or something like
Yeah.
the meme of it. Yeah.
And people are just pushing me in that direction, which wasn't necessarily bad. And then I started, the Washington State has this program where while you're in high school, you can start going to community college instead.
Mhm.
And I started doing that in 11th grade. So I had my first semester of college, and I'm starting my like prerequisites for pre-med.
Mhm.
And things are kind of tough that first quarter. It's a little jarring because
You're in 11th grade.
I'm starting college.
Yeah.
But and trying to figure that out. And I think up until that point, I never really had to study or anything. So figuring out what studying actually was.
Right. With other adults, I presume, at
Yeah.
16 years old. You're like with these people who are driving themselves, maybe a little different experiences than you.
Most people in classes with me are between the age of like 19 and 25,
Mhm.
and I'm 16.
Yeah.
And there's other people in the program that I am. Like there's other, people my age around too, but they're probably like one in every like 20 students.
Sure.
And I hit that first quarter, and I kept going back to an experience I had the previous summer where I had gone to this event called MLG Anaheim 2013,
Oh my
which was a
God.
total coincidence.
Yeah.
I was like in Anaheim for an FBLA conference.
That's Future Business Leaders of America?
Yep.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
And in the same convention center was MLG Anaheim. I just
That's so
fucked off
funny.
and spent all my time there instead.
right.
And it was my first experience at an in-person esports event. I was like, this is so amazing. The feeling in the room is like electric, especially at the League of Legends stage. It was wild. There's like a famous match between CLG and TSM where there's a crazy like base race comeback from like a really long time ago. I was in person when that game happened.
Right, and you weren't even intending to be. You were a future
No.
business leader. Were you wearing a little suit?
Dude, I was in a suit at the end.
When you were saying that, I was like, I know exactly what this looked
I
like.
pulled
yeah.
up this photo on a different podcast because I wanted to show Hitch, Optic Hitch. But I have a photo of me in my suit at 16 in the hotel lobby with all of Optic Gaming, like Optic Hex, Nade Shot, Scumpy, just in the middle of them from that trip. And ironically, Hex was the person who encouraged me. Like Hex and I'm just walked. I had bold confidence, right? I go up to Hex and I'm like,
you still do, to be fair.
I wanted to get an internship with Optic. And he gave me his email, and we emailed back and forth a couple times, and it was funny. But anyway, after, I think because I knew it was more real from that and that first quarter of school for this thing that had been set up for a long time, I was like, I think I want to go work in esports. Like I want to make or like do whatever that is.
Right.
That seems awesome. And I didn't realize that was really a thing until I went to that event, not in that capacity. And I like made a mini presentation to outline and show why to my dad, why I was going to change
slime.
my job.
You
I
made a
did the
PowerPoint.
slime,
Yeah,
except
yeah.
I wasn't in my underwear.
Well, you should have.
I could have.
It would have been
might
powerful.
Might have been easier. Might have been more confident.
Yeah.
That is the one. And then the other thing is also around the same time period, total chance, November. I remember it still. November of 2013. My YouTube homepage recommends me a video called The Smash Brothers Episode 1.
Oh, classic.
And
well, you were algorithmically served it.
Algorithmically in
Wow.
2013. It was
Yeah.
on my YouTube recommended page. So
Yeah, I
ju-
watched it late 2014 when the world was talking about it. Like
Yeah.
I didn't discover it by any means.
Dude, so that's what
yeah.
it came out in October of 2013. So I saw the title. I remember that night because I looked at it and I was like, is this about the video game? Because the thumbnails weren't really a thing.
Yeah.
So the thumbnail of that video was just like a house. And I was like, this is confusing. Like, why is it a house? But like the
It's
title's
probably like
vague.
the first frame or something, right?
Yeah.
It's like the apartment or something and they go in. Yeah.
And I watched, I think, almost all of it that first night.
It's amazing.
And
It's
it's-
electric, truly.
Yeah. And I think it has so much of the message I remember being sick of the games I was playing at the time because I didn't want to keep playing games online. I was so entranced by the idea of this in-person community that you could go meet up with and play this amazing game with in person. That was what sold me. And then I immediately tried to get into that. And in December, I went to my first tournament that I hosted. I just like put together a
so
tournament.
You didn't even like go to a tournament. You're like, I want to do this so badly. I am going to do the work. Yeah, I'm going to like put it on a Facebook group or something.
Exactly. And that's how that took off from there. And I think really it's funny. And the reason why I say both is because it's hard for me to imagine. It's like if I had gotten into Melee, would I have found my way into events in esports anyway? Or if I had gotten into esports, would I have found my way to Melee eventually? But to me, those are the two pivotal things that really changed my life because, and it's even like for my girlfriend that we've been together for almost like 4 years, and it's hard to contextualize to her. And she gets it a little more now, but like every thread of my life and what I have now is connected to Melee somehow.
Totally.
And I was saying that when we were hanging out, when Brandon had the pool party that he does every year, right? And there's a bunch of these people from all these like different parts of Brandon's life and different parts of our life. And I was talking to just somebody else at the party, and I was like, isn't it crazy that we all are here kind of because of Melee? Even the people who don't play it.
Right.
It's
are
like,
there because they know Brandon, who knows you, who went to Twitch, who started Twitch Weekly, who did a podcast. Right. It's like it all connects.
And Melee is like the glue that holds it kind of all together, even though most of these people don't even play anymore. It was just the avenue through which most of us met or found work or and I think that's the biggest change because that's how I have so many. That's how I know almost everybody. It's how I know you basically.
Yeah.
It's all of because of that. It's because of it's how the Yard met. It's how Ludwig has his career. It's how Melee is the undercurrent of so much of the social fabric and the success of what I have. So if I hadn't clicked on it and I had never watched it, or if I hadn't gotten into esports, like I think my life would be so different.
There's a world where you go to the FBLA conference in Anaheim, and instead of MLG Anaheim 2013, it's like Surgery Con, and you go watch them like do surgery on a human being, and it fills you with that same sense of like, holy shit, now that I have like touched this world, I believe in it and I can do it. And then it'd be just completely different.
Yeah,
you have like 17 kids living in Washington as a famous plastic surgeon or something. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, when to think about the different versions of yourself, the one of the main things I think about is when my dad flies for like this Asian airline, right? And when he got that job, we were living in Illinois for like a couple years. And I'm in 5th grade when this happens. And when he first gets that job, he gets based or assigned to Amsterdam. So we were going to move to Amsterdam. Like that was going to be my life. Like from 6th grade onward, I was going to be living in Europe. In Amsterdam isn't even like a place I don't know what Amsterdam is when I'm like 10.
Of course. How could you?
Yeah. And one thing I think about is he got, basically, as I understand it, he got really lucky, and last minute, because like somebody retired or some position opened up, he got reassigned to Vancouver, which is why we moved to Washington. My parents didn't want to move like fully back to Canada. So we moved like
as close as you
can
legally get
to the
in the
border,
United States.
but stayed in the US, which is what we did. And so I grew up on the the rest of my time growing up, I grew up on the Canadian US border in Washington, and then he would commute to Vancouver. And that's the big thing the change that's outside of my hands, right? Like if that had just never happened, I think that truly would have changed me. Because if I grew up in Europe, I think the chances of me finding Melee and esports as like a viable career path would be radically different.
Totally.
And I view that through the perspective of like my friends that do esports stuff in Europe. It's like, honestly, compared to the US, esports is a pretty niche and small industry to find work in. But the big opportunities over the last decade were in America. And for my friends that were trying to make it happen in Europe, like it was way harder and the opportunities are way fewer and far between. So Absolutely. I wonder like what type of guy would I have been, in the same way that like there's so many paths and choices that our parents made along the way for us that kind of push us towards where we are.
It's funny. Yeah. I never really thought about like the coin flip or dice roll choice, the choices that were made for me versus the choices I made. It's easy as a human being to be like, no, I am in control of my own destiny and I am here because of choices I've made, good or bad. You know, maybe my life is bad because I made bad choices. You know, a lot of it is just random shit, you know, parents make choices. There's an earthquake, there's a famine, you know, and that's my life now. You know?
So much of it, dude.
Yeah.
Me and Doug and Brandon were talking about this on the Lemonade Stand Patreon.
You gotta be a patron. I want this guy to go to China. Can we say that? We need 10,000 patrons so he can go to China. Yeah, patreon.com/lemonade stand. I'm sure maybe lemonade stand pod or something. Who fucking knows?
No, you nailed it.
And give me your $5. They need 10,000 patrons, man.
And we'll go to China.
And they'll go to China.
But the conversation we had was how much of your success that you have now do you attribute to your own work versus luck or opportunity or whatever you want to call it. And we talked about it for like 30 minutes. And I think it's an interesting, the way I summarize it for myself is you're obligated to like develop your skills, whatever they are, so that when skill meets opportunity, you can take advantage of it.
Sure.
But the opportunities come at different rates and for different people for different reasons and different circumstances, right?
Right.
Like
some opportunities will never come for certain people.
Exactly. Yeah. Which is the bad part. Is like that's to me is like what a lot of like governance and changing in society is like about. It's about equalizing opportunity for people, not equalizing outcomes. Giving every person the same-ish chance at succeeding and doing what they want with their life. Because that's not equal across the board. And kind of recognizing in the vein of that conversation, we were recognizing, you know, we all had a chance. You too worked in esports at some point, right?
Yeah.
But if you were trying to work in esports now, and I wouldn't recommend that you chase the esports dream if you're listening right now. But I'm saying is like part of the reason I think finding my way, making like a mini production Smash event company in college and like running big tournaments when I was young and then becoming a big Smash TO and then finding a job because of that. All of those things did happen and I worked really hard. I found a path that most people did not find at the time because of work and a skill set I think I had. However, if you were the same person as me, like literally one-to-one with in terms of like outlook and ability, and you're graduating college or in college 4 years later or 6 years later, you don't get to ride the same wave that I did.
Yeah, not even close.
And I got lucky. I got to ride the timing of the industry and the documentary and all of these things that happened to happen when I was growing up. And it's also something that makes me guilty about giving people advice.
I completely commiserate with that.
Yeah, because to say that I just fucking did it is just so disingenuous. It's like the circumstances right now when like you're a young person in college and you're trying to find a job at the moment, especially if dude, imagine like after all of the tech industry blow up and like 1 billion people have told you computer science is like a high paying, stable job. And then you gragraduated a year ago.
Everyone's using Copilot and just like AI to write anything.
And then not to mention the industry, like downsizing overall, like your opportunities feel so few and far between if you're a CS grad right now. And, or even in anything, like when I talk to my friends who are like in their earlier 20s, like out of their undergrad, some of these people have been applying for jobs for like more than a year. That's crazy, and they just can't fucking find anything.
You want to know how I got a job out of college?
Yeah.
I spent my last 2 years of college doing nothing but playing 10 to 14 hours of League of Legends every day. So bad that I had a job on campus. I would go to as close as the ASU Wi-Fi was. This is embarrassing. I would clock in. I would go home and play League of Legends. I would ride my bike halfway there again, clock out, go back and play League of Legends. I didn't go to class. I didn't go to work. I was committing fraud, to be fair. Like, I'm sorry, Arizona State University. And I was doing that every day. And then I graduated. I was like, oh no, I got to get a job. I decided not to go to law school. I sent one email to Liquid Steve Aronset. At the time he was at Curse. And I was like, hey man, we won the collegiate championship. I was like president of the club. I would love to work in esports. And he said, sure. That was it.
Are you serious?
So when people ask for advice, I'm like, dude, you're not going to want to hear it. Because like
Yeah.
I can't give you any good advice because this is how it happened for me, and I don't think it'll happen for other people in that same way.
No.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it just can't happen that way anymore.
Yeah. And it shouldn't have happened that way. At that time, it shouldn't have happened that way.
I mean, even at the at the time, I feel like a lot of people have similar stories of like trying to do that at that time. That's what I did with Hex. I shot the email and it didn't work out. Like I didn't get responded to eventually, which I don't fault him for at all.
Yeah,
because having been
so many of those messages,
so many of those same emails and messages, like to be honest, I know what it's like on the other side of it now for a few years, and getting tons of those messages all the time, full of eager, willing people, at least on paper. And it's like, I'd like to help, but it's just not feasible. Like I can't hire everybody.
It's a full-time job even responding to that many people. Not only like doing the thing they want you to do, but trying to like steer them in the right direction or give them advice or introduce them to someone. That's like tremendously difficult. And then you end up getting paralyzed and just like, I'm just not going to reply.
Yeah.
Because then I feel slightly better. I'm a bad person by not replying, but I'm a worse person if I like reply and then stop or like give them false hope or something.
And
like
I
that.
don't want to, I wish I could give them something more concrete. And then back to the advice thing. Like I don't have even advice that I can confidently give. I've tried to synthesize it down over time of like what you can tell people, but
sure, the quick hitter of like how to work hard and like do this and that.
Yeah, but when you talk about the like this is the method or like this is the exact science or way to go about these sort of things, there's everybody. You need to get lucky in some way.
Yeah, and the thing that worked for you might not work for other people. If it was that repeatable, like everyone would do it would be on the internet already.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? It's not. You don't have a secret that got you to where you are today in the same way that I don't. And some people pretend like they do, but they don't. You know what I mean?
So you were at ASU at the same time as Atrioc.
Yeah, I was 1 year younger.
Okay. Yeah. And were you, because he talks about how much he played League, right? He was trying to become like a pro player.
Yeah,
basically.
he got very close. He was on a team with other pro players in the time where he could have. And I think he got really burnt out. It's just like, if he was 1 year older, he would have been a pro. And if he was 1 year younger, he might have been a pro. It's just like he was smart enough and not good enough to like perfectly navigate between the two.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So were you playing with him?
Yeah. So in the early days, it was a StarCraft club, which is like even more embarrassing than being a League of Legends club, right? You know, you said that like Melee brought us all together. I think other people in the same group might be like, man, StarCraft brought us all together because that's how we discovered Melee and did other things together. So I actually tried to join the summer after my high school year in StarCraft. You talked about clans earlier. There was like clans in the game. You could like search a clan tag and people would just be in a chat room talking. Yeah. And so I joined ASU and was like, hey guys, I'm going to ASU next year and I really love StarCraft and I'd love to be a member of your community. And I remember like the leader of that guild was Atrioc. And so I sent him a bunch of DMs like, hey, you're the leader of the guild. Do you play StarCraft at ASU? And I found him on Facebook and it's like, he's the president of the club. I sent him so many messages in League, StarCraft, Facebook. He dono-walled me for literally a year until he finally responded and like, I didn't even think he responded. I saw a Reddit post that was like, come join the club or something. And I went out there and ended up meeting him and he's a nice guy, but he goes to Korea like the week after I meet him. We had become fast friends. It's like we meet, we have all these interests in common. We're playing StarCraft, we're playing League. I am a reasonable human being. Everyone else in this club is kind of like a dumbass. Him included, myself probably included. And so he goes to Korea and he's like, hey man, I'm leaving. The StarCraft club is becoming like an esports club because we're all playing League of Legends now. Can you take over and do the thing? And so then I become like the club president at the time. I was like a little kid. He's in Korea. He comes back. We're playing in like lots of collegiate tournaments. I played at the time. He played at the time. Yeah. We win against other schools like U of A. And then at the time, like University of British Columbia was like an esports
UBC
powerhouse.
Was really good.
Dude, they were unbelievable. They were like always in the finals. We beat them sometimes. They beat us sometimes. And then eventually I was just not good enough. And so like I retire from the team, continue to do like managerial things. As we went, me not as a player, but as a manager, as like the team with him playing wins the national championship for college, which is really amazing. And that was how I even got Steve's email was like by winning the college one, they had given us the opportunity to scrim a pro team. And so they just gave me like Steve's Skype to like organize the scrim. And I used that, I was like, hey man, like what's your email? Let's do things. And that's how I got there. But that's how we met. And it was truly just playing League of Legends like all day, every day.
That's crazy.
On Skype at the time, which was how we organized.
Yeah, Skype was it back then.
Yeah, before it was all scammers.
Wow. How did you graduate? Like, how did you get your classes How did you not fail?
Is not a prestigious university, I will say. And my last 2 years, so political science is not a hard major.
Yeah.
ASU is not a tough university. And my last 2 years, I basically did every class online. So it was just kind of like, and I'm not like an idiot. It wasn't that hard. I wasn't like taking it that seriously, and it wasn't that hard. So I just kind of like got a bunch of B's and graduated.
That's while playing League 12 hours a day. That's impressive.
That's about all I was doing. I would go to the store and I would buy a pack of hot dogs and buns. And over the course of a day, I would eat 8 hot dogs. I'd eat like a hot dog every hour and play League of Legends. And so, this makes me sound like a psychopath. And then I would go to bed, and then do it again.
Have you ever seen the Whitest Kids You Know sketch where they're trying to figure out, the doctor's trying to diagnose what's wrong with this guy, but they're trying to dance around the fact that his diet is 14 hot dogs a day.
No, but it's like based on my life.
That's a real version of that sketch.
Looking back at how unhealthy I was like pretty skinny, and I was like, I thought I was fit. It's like, no, my diet was no nutrients at all.
Yeah.
It was like only salt and mystery meat and white
salt
bread.
And mystery meat.
Yeah, that is not good for you. I didn't eat vegetables. I grew up in Arizona where you don't eat vegetables. You barbecue, you eat carne asada only. I didn't like vegetables growing up. My parents, I guess, were lenient enough to not force me.
Yeah.
And so I was extremely unhealthy. League of Legends and hot dogs. And look where I am now, Mom. I got my own podcast.
Look at now, though. The thing that I've been thinking about a bit in this conversation is the middle part before getting to do stuff like this.
Mm-hmm.
My goal ended up becoming work in esports, do esports events, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I got to that goal. Like I got to do that job for a while, and I did enjoy it.
You're the dog that caught the car.
Yeah, I caught the car, and then I decided to let it go and go do something else and go work for Ludwig. That was basically the beginning transition to all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm doing something I never really thought was going to be my job.
Mm-hmm.
I think aspects of it are things that I've always thought I would like to do.
When you say you're doing something you don't think would, are you talking about podcasting? Or are you talking about moguling? Because you have a lot of, maybe we should even talk about the people.
Mm-hmm.
You have Lemonade Stand, you have The Yard, you have Yard D&D, and you are also president of Mogul Moves and formerly like head of merchandising at Mogul Moves. Real human job. 3 podcasting jobs and then 2 real human jobs.
Yeah, so I still have a human job, which is And
you're the only one on The Yard or Lemonade Stand that has a real human job, right?
Yeah. You could count Ludwig's, maybe. I don't know. Maybe Ludwig's is still content.
Yeah. I mean, Ludwig's is tough because...
But I'm the closest thing in all of these groups of people who still has a more traditional job, which is still, in the grand scheme, not super traditional in its execution. But I'm the COO of Mogul Moves as of September of last year.
Right.
So that has been that part. I think in a way I did see myself doing at some point.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of like running a business in some facet, which is something that I kind of did in college already, way smaller scale.
And you prepared for in high school? You were in like the business leaders club? I mean, you were setting yourself up for something like this, and it is in the vertical that you cared the most about, esports.
Yeah. And it's strange because I think when you're that age, you have a very vague idea of what business is. And what it actually is like tracking and filing paperwork and looking at bank statements and hiring people. It's not the most exciting stuff. And it's kind of, I think when you're in charge of a company, it's kind of whatever happens to need to be done that day. And it changes all the time. And right now I'm running this company with 15 employees. And the day to day and week to week, the amount of stuff I do and what I have to do changes drastically. It is whatever I need to do to effectively keep that company operating in a good, efficient, and legal way.
Legal is such a funny thing to add on the end, but I agree.
Yeah. I mean, genuinely, it's like there's so many little things with like paperwork and states laws and federal laws and like all these different things. And you kind of just figure it out in my opinion, you basically figure it out with other people's help and by asking questions. And because I
asked a few too many questions in December, buddy. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. That is kind of how that happened. I think I'm just good at asking questions. I mean, that's how I found my way to this job. I just asked a lot of questions, if I'm being honest. And that's the normal part. And the part that I think I could see myself doing. The part that I couldn't is the podcast part and the content part, because I never really chased or like envisioned that. And now I'm here. And I also do like the business, like operations or admin for the Yard and for Lemonade Stand, albeit with other people's help too. Like all of these companies have employees and things that help out. But the actual contents part is interesting because the Yard itself is basically taking what we would all say to each other in person in our house without cameras and mics on and just putting it on camera.
Right.
So to call it anything other than that is kind of silly because it feels so natural and so
You're
fun.
speaking truth to power. That's the role of a comedian society, buddy. Without you, we crumble.
Yeah, that's I'm fulfilling my duty to society.
Yeah.
And but then Lemonade Stand was actually kind of similar in that I really like talking about like business and politics, and no one really in my life I felt like I could just talk to about that sort of stuff except for Brandon. Like
you'd come to basketball and be like, hey, did you read this article? And it was like it felt like a New Yorker like cartoon. We're like out there playing basketball and you're talking about like the metals industry in Russia. And what the fuck is going on
and
here?
Brandon is the only person who would be like pumped to talk about that stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's just been that way for a long time. And I've also known him for been closer friends for a little less time than this, but I've known him since 2015. Like that is when I met Brandon at Evo 2015. And I think it's like, okay, here's my good friend that we love talking about this stuff. And I think he does cool stuff with his content. What if we just made a little podcast out of this? Like, I thought about that for like a year. And then when we actually started talking about it, Doug heard about that. He jumps in because we think it's a good fit. And it's like, Doug just asked, which was the funny part. Doug heard us talking about it and was like, oh, I really like this stuff too. But I think like this tech angle or talking about tech would be cool. Could I get involved and talk about that stuff? And we're like, yeah, that's perfect. The content stuff is fun. I think there is an aspect of it that is business or maybe a little about money in the sense of, yes, I still want to grow these parts of my career and success and security in the future. But the reason I've never streamed or jumped to, or YouTube or anything like that is because I don't really want to. It's not for me. And the podcasting part, like sitting down and getting to talk with somebody, and I'm especially pumped because we did this Lena Khan interview. Getting to sit down and interview somebody is something that I've always liked.
Right.
And finally having the opportunity to interview someone of her stature and caliber and have a serious conversation about serious things that I care about, that was like a dream.
I was so sad when you didn't know about the Newsom thing, because the way you responded to that, you're like, wait, what? What are I'm not doing this? Dude. Especially after hearing you say it now, that like that is something that is very important to you, or would be like affirming to you, a younger you that wants to do this thing. Yeah.
That, I think that'll come around. I think I truly it didn't bother
when he's president, of course.
It's funny because so many people were, I understand, riled up on my behalf, but I was like, one, this is so much funnier this way. And two, that sort of short online interview with like tech problems, and I can't ask the questions.
I thought it was ass.
Yeah,
to be perfectly honest.
I watched it all play out, and I was like, oh, I don't really feel like I missed much. And it sounds like we might be able to get him to actually come on the show at some point.
Yeah, and to do like a real interview, and not just like, I mean, he was just talking at anyone who was in the room. He was like, he had his talking points, he had his speech. No matter what people said, he responded with like something that didn't have anything to do with it. So
exactly.
I think you can do much better.
I want to do that, but properly. And if it's going to be improperly, then it's like then I didn't really miss anything. And I think I don't have a very strong sense of FOMO. Whether it be, I've at least felt this way for a long time, is like, whether it be like parties or social gatherings or events, or I don't know, man, like there's just any opportunity to like not do something, I think I sort of treasure, because it means time that I don't have to like think about. Like free time is so valuable. And also like, there's always another, I feel this way. There's always another thing. It's like, if you miss one thing or you don't get invited to one thing, it means like there'll probably be another thing later.
Sure.
And I just mean it's bad to feel FOMO. Like, I think that's a very normal feeling, but I think I have a sense of like, not before content world, I think it comes from just the internet and like this feeling I have of being like inundated by notifications all the time. Anything that lets me drown everything out and ignore like planning or notifications of any kind, I'm like, this is nice time.
Do you do anything? I mean, like someone might hear that and think like, oh, dedicated meditation time or silencing my phone, or like, do you have any rituals or habits you have that help you treasure that time more?
No.
Or do you even want to have them?
I think it would be healthier to be that way. I think
I'm now realizing how silly that question is when I was looking through some of your old Reddit responses to people on the Yard subreddit, because I was thinking about the basketball stuff, and then I was thinking about the nicotine stuff and cigarette stuff. And it's like, yeah, you must be reading stuff often because you are consistently in YouTube comments, Reddit comments, talking about things that are important to you in your world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for stuff like that, I think that how I spend the time is maybe I'll play video games, maybe I'll read Reddit. It's just the idea of that time not being accountable to anybody else. I can just do whatever comes to mind, and that's nice.
Right.
That's like, and any time that gets to be that doesn't have like obligation or account to anyone besides myself is freedom. Is freedom and to be treasured and enjoy it while it lasts, because you'll have something demanded of you the next day. And I just like that. But for the comment stuff, I think I've always been this way. I think I have a combined, I think two things. I have a strong sense of the way I interact with people online is the way I will interact with you in person. It's like, I will not like, I think we both get talked about in this way on the basketball court. It's like, we don't mind like letting somebody know there's a problem. Or I think my big thing, and I think you might be similar, is the sense of justice. Like, I won't throw the first stone, but I love throwing the second.
Sure.
And
dude, we were playing the other day. You know that guy that comes that has all the tattoos? He's like not in our group, but he's a cool guy to play with.
Yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah, we were playing with him. He's playing with his buddy, and his buddy like traveled twice in a row, and no one said anything. And I was like, hey man, like tell your friend. And then one of the newer guys to our group who like doesn't play basketball, Jackson, if you're listening to this, but he's like a new guy to our group. Like he accidentally traveled, not even on a shot or anything. And the guy's like, hey, our ball. And I'm like, bro, what are we doing here? Yeah, I'm like, come on. Like, a sense of like, we're all here to have fun and do this thing. And like, I'm not gonna, Ludwig would have me perceived as like a referee on the court and like calling everything. And it's like, no, let's just like have fun. Yes. And if Atrioc travels because he's new to basketball, that's fine. It's not gonna ruin our game. But if you start calling these kinds of things, everything gets so much worse for everyone immediately.
I don't like this idea of, I think my basketball stories are very similar. It's like when I say something, it's usually because somebody steps kind of out of line in a way that like is degrading the experience for other people. And most other people are uncomfortable with confrontation. I think it's the idea of like, a lot of people just do not enjoy confronting people that like break rules or like fuck shit up for the system or the environment at hand, because nobody wants to be uncomfortable.
Right.
But it's like, I'll be that guy. It's like, you can't fuck it up for everybody else and just get away with it. That's not fair. And all these people who are just willing to let it slide allow you to be shitty. And I think there's a bunch of versions of that where people, I mean, this happens in online video games all the time, and I understand it's like just the way, but whether it be comments or video games or whatever, people just talk in a way that that I hate when they have no accountability. It's like, that's why my thing is like, dude, if you can write that comment and like send me a video of you saying it out loud, take ownership of it, brother.
Sure.
If you're listening to this right now and you want to time something mean, like own it. Be fucking brave, you pussy.
You can't have an anime profile picture. That's my only thing. And if you have your first and last name and a picture of yourself, that's fine. Say whatever you want.
That's why I actually low-key, that was one of the strengths of the Facebook era during Smash compared to like Twitter.
Yeah, they were human beings.
Dude, Facebook groups in Smash were kind of sick.
They were connected to their family and coworkers and everything.
Oh, yes, because you just had to show who you were. And some people still got crazy, right? But it's like you had to own it, dude. That was the thing. You had to own it. And that's what I care about, is like, you have to own you have to own what you say, and not in a way that means like at all times should I be semantically picking you apart and looking for like little points of hypocrisy so I can like I'm not saying I shouldn't give people the benefit of the doubt. That's not what it's about. It's just this idea of if you're going to be just like mean or say shit that you would never say in that way in person, you disgust me.
That's harsh words.
Yeah, it's because I think it's truly disgusting behavior.
Right.
And I think it's one standard that I've managed to hold myself pretty consistently to is like when I look back, because I have second guesses and second thoughts about like what I say online all the time over the years. And especially when I was younger. And,
that's to be human.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And I reflect really consciously over that. And I've changed the way I communicate online over the years because of this. And I understand that, you know, maybe I'm interacting with people who are like younger and like haven't been able to learn these things yet. But a lot of the people, it's like a lot of people that I'm playing Counter-Strike, bro, they're 28 and they're ripping the hard R. And it's like, and the thing I started asking people in Counter-Strike is I just kind of like laugh and I'm like, are you going to say that at work tomorrow? Like, and then, like, it's just, to me, that behavior is deplorable because people only do it because there's no accountability.
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, I feel like I hold myself to a higher standard, but there's no winning the battle, right? I think that's the other thing. It's like, I'm fighting an unwinnable battle. I will never.
Right, you can't. I think you can win the battle, but you'll never win the war. Right, there's always going to be like weirdos out there. But I think we can push. One thing that like really resonated with me as I was working in esports, because at Gen.G we had like women's esports teams. Was like stuff that like or Dr. K talks about. It's like if you hear someone saying something, like all you have to do is stand up and say something, and then like 90% of the time, especially when it's like someone harassing one person on your team, other people will speak up and be like, "Yeah, man, that is weird." They just need that first person.
You need the first mover.
Yes, exactly. And you're willing to be a first mover, is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
It does not hurt you at all.
No, it doesn't. That doesn't phase me, I think, at all. And I think I feel like I've backed that up effectively. Like the phenomena is demonstrated well through this like old video of this. There's a music festival happening and people are just in like a field on the outskirts of this music festival. And one dude's like dancing crazy and he's just dancing alone in this like crowd of people who are all like laying down or chilling and like everybody's looking at him. And it's talking about how like one person is like willing to do this in front of everyone and look ridiculous. But then a second guy joins that guy, which as soon as the second guy joins that guy, a third quickly joins after. And then this giant crowd of people who are then dancing like forms after. And it's this like, just this little exhibition of that social phenomena is like most people need like a first and second or third mover to like feel comfortable to put themselves out there. But if somebody can set the tone, then a bunch of people feel comfortable following suit. And that little cute video is always like a nice way of explaining it or visualizing it to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I shouldn't say everyone, most people listening to this have been to a wedding. And the first song at a wedding is always kind of awkward. But then you'll get like the 16 to 24-year-old girls that are like, you know what, we're going out there, we're going to have fun. And then, you know, some boys go out and then like adults go out and all of a sudden everyone's having a good time.
Exactly.
The icebreaker on that can be tough when it's something that you feel very perceived in doing. Whether that's like calling someone out in a Counter-Strike lobby or dancing in front of other people or playing sports or something. Like, it can be scary. Like, what if I miss and they laugh at me? It's like, they never will. So just someone else goes out there and misses and it's like, great.
Do you feel, okay, so one question I've been asking myself lately that I want to ask you is because of your career now, because you exist on a stream, on videos you make, you participate in things like basketball, maybe you're a guest on other people's shows. How do you feel being perceived all the time?
Yeah, and this is, I'm going to do the California thing, where it's like, this is something I've talked about in therapy. Yeah. Which is like, for me, streaming or podcasting or being on someone else's stream is a way for me to control being perceived. Yeah. And so it feels very comfortable. Like, this is much better than going to a party. I feel so uncomfortable at parties. Like, even like Ludwig's birthday thing, I was like, I don't know. Who do I talk to? What's weird? What if I'm being weird or something? This is a podcast and I'm talking to my friend Aiden. And people expect questions to happen. And they expect me to say this, and it's like, oh yeah, like the rules are so clear. Yeah. It's the reason why I like playing basketball. The rules are very clear, and like I can do these things. But when I put myself in situations that are not, people think this is like being hyper perceived or like the spotlight is on you. And to me, it's like, sure, but I know it's on me. Whereas being out in public or at a party and stuff, it makes me feel way more uncomfortable.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think that's,
and I would also say that I'm like a very shy person in regular life. Like I'm not an extrovert. Like Rochelle and I stay home constantly. Yeah. We go to parties, we leave pretty early, if we even go at all, or, you know, just like watching movies amongst ourselves. And it was something that maybe we even struggle with in our relationship at first, is that like on stream, I'm like a goofy guy. We do like Ludwig's streamer games, and I'm out there like making a fool of myself as a referee, or like doing like physical bits and stuff, which is not something I would ever do here. Yeah. But it's like it's like a different side of me, and a side of me that I don't care to have in my regular life. Sure. But I like to get out somehow.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. I think the idea of the expectation, like I think I have very little problem being perceived through the lens of the yard, for example, because that environment feels very familiar and comfortable. And the idea of people watching that doesn't make me uncomfortable at all. But I think the reason I've been thinking about it more recently is a chain of events with Lemonade Stand, basketball, and then the Beerio card event that just happened.
Oh my God.
And I think all three of these things, for very different reasons, made me not like, I think maybe not like the idea of people who don't know me
leaving the circle,
like, because the yard is being delivered essentially to fans. It's within the circle, right? So they give you maybe a benefit of the doubt, or they just have more context about who you are, in the same way that my friends have more context about who I am than maybe one person who I meet one time that has a negative reaction or interaction with me. Right.
It would be fair for them to walk away and be like, fuck that guy. I hate that guy. Yes. You know what I mean? They don't have any context built up or goodwill saved up to give you that.
And I think one thing I really hate about content in the internet right now, and I've been building up this feeling over the years, watching more other things play out. But maybe the phenomena I would call it is being on the other side of the YouTube video essay. And this whole YouTube industry of, I've been kind of over YouTube video essays for a while because of this. You haven't
watched 17-part Pirate Software expose? He's so done.
God. The Pirate Software thing is the perfect example, because I'm not on the other side of the problem. Not really at all, right? But I feel bad for him in the sense that I understand that people are upset at things he said, or this idea that they have of him, or the way he's responded to things. I get it. But what ends up happening is people piece together these like psychoanalytic narrative pieces.
Red string connecting everything.
That just take, you take facts or clips and you paste them together. And then you, from these things that are factually true or clips that actually happened, you piece together the narrative between those things that you believe. And it is so pervasive. It is the most pervasive it's maybe been in history because of the way YouTube and like uploaded content works, right? And now, having been on the other side of these things for so long, where YouTube drama after YouTube drama hits the timeline and people tell stories about either communities I'm in, or people I know, or even closer friends. In the case of Ludwig and all this controversy recently, the version of this worst case version of events that plays out online is just so disconnected from the reality of it that I lived.
And it can only make you think about other situations.
And then, exactly. And my first thought is not necessarily that, oh my God, this is so unfair. It's this idea that I'm not these people that I know, or the me of it all, I'm not the only person that's happening to. This happens to everything through media all the time. Like this thing that I connected it to more recently was when the protests in LA were happening. And I got, so I live near the area where those protests are happening. Like I'll go buy groceries in that area. And I think I was on a trip and I came back the day after the big protest day, whatever the Saturday or the Sunday was.
Yeah, the big one where they brought in everyone, killed everyone out.
Yeah, after and I show up the next morning. It's my neighborhood. I have gotten so many texts. I've gotten like as many texts as I got when the fires were happening earlier in the year.
Are you safe? What's happening? Dude. I see it on the news.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
have you seen like the zoomed out picture? Zoomed in, it looks like they're like the streets are full, and then it zooms out a little bit, and you can tell it's just like one street.
Exactly. Exactly. And walking around the streets and the few blocks that those protests were on, expecting to see like destruction and fucked up shit and
broken
people
windows and graffiti,
broken windows. There was really only graffiti. Like there was basically nothing happening and nothing going on in the neighborhood other than the graffiti on these like 2 or 3 blocks was basically as it has always been before. And I was like, dude, this is crazy, because the reaction from all of my family and friends that don't live in LA who are checking in on me, they don't even know that I live in this specific area. They're just seeing this as an LA on the whole issue.
You
right?
could live on the west side and they probably would have still texted you.
Exactly. Yeah. And the reaction being the same as the fires were earlier in the year, when shit was actually hitting the fan for a couple weeks. It was like
hundreds of houses were burned down.
Yes, friends like I know like lost houses or had to evacuate for a couple weeks and thought they were going to lose their house. Like and multiple fires in different parts of the city, like downed telephone poles, and like the sky was like dark and ashy, and you had to wear masks to go outside. Like all of this crazy shit was going on, right? Protests, not even close to that level of impact. If you did not live in those few those few city blocks, and then you also didn't check the news, you wouldn't even know it happened.
Yeah.
Like
I had jury duty at that time, and I was commuting downtown, and I honestly never saw anything.
That's even crazier, because you're literally downtown and you don't even know. And I think that's my big issue, is like that aspect of media exists everywhere in everything, and I am on the other side of it. And I've been, the last 2 months especially, it's been making me feel really bad. And I don't like the idea. It feels like the battle of pushing back against commenters. It feels like a unwinnable war. This will never not be this way, at least not in any short-term period. I do not see a way to like get around this. Can I accept my position in this industry and what I work in? Can I accept this just as a uncompromising reality of the space I work in? Am I ready to live with that for the next 5 to 10 to 20 years? And I've been asking myself that a little more lately, because this is the first time probably this year where that has felt so taxing to me.
It was miserable. Like as someone who was much smaller than Ludwig, but was like also in the room and had a couple of like Reddit threads posted about me and my like behavior in that, is like, holy shit, this is the worst I've felt like as a content creator. Especially, I think you're probably in this situation too, where it's like, dude, both sides of this are like my good friends.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Yes. I feel terrible for like behavior that I enabled towards Cinna and Ray. And I feel terrible towards behavior I enabled to my friend Mango by like, not saying something sooner or helping out. And to my friend Ludwig, who put this on and also was like on stream. It's like, dude, everyone lost. Everyone feels miserable. Everything sucks. It was just, it was really terrible.
I think one thing that really frustrated me about it too was, all of the feelings that you just described, had a ton of those internally. But then I think this idea of there being like no follow-up or accountability because it wasn't happening publicly online. Like I spent the next 2 weeks taking like hours and hours of internal meetings as to like, how do we make sure this doesn't happen at anything else in the future? How do we like cut or control alcohol at any events in the future? Like all of these just all of this time going into trying to seriously address something that had unfolded. I felt very accountable to employees and like that environment, the office that I'm at every day. And I want to make sure that is handled properly, because I think it's owed to like everybody involved. And obviously, and like, so to have aspects of the narrative be exaggerated or lied about, and then also people say that there's this lack of accountability is just really frustrating, because it's like, I want to solve this, but I also want to push back against the things about it that weren't true.
Right.
You
have a sense of justice about it. I have a sense of like, hey man, this just isn't true. Someone is out there lying. That is unfair to everyone that like was actually wronged in this situation, and to everyone who's trying to help make the situation right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I've tried to really zone in on, it was something that Ken Chen told me. And we were having a serious conversation a couple years ago about like a different issue. And I was talking to him about, how do you reconcile your feelings about this? Because this issue makes me feel really shitty. I don't like the way that people talk about this publicly, because it isn't true. Like, the narrative of this issue is not true. And I feel like I can do nothing to combat it effectively. How do you deal with that? And he was like, it's hard, but the thing I always remember is the people who are most important, who were there and understand the issue fully, will always know that you did the right thing. And I've tried to remember that is like, as long as you can like prove yourself and do right by the people who matter most, if that makes sense, if you can be accountable where it counts. And like, to me, in that case, it was like, what can we do within the scope of our company internally to like address this in the most comprehensive way possible, right? In like internally, which is like that I need to do that part. That's the most important part. And those are the things that I try to hang on to, and like try to forget the part that I can't control, which is the narrative aspects that slip away from the truth, that anger me or make me, maybe not even anger, make me feel sad or fatigued or like lost. Like, is it worth it to work in a space that is so public and thereby so easily misrepresented?
Especially and this is me making the statement, not you making the statement, or even like the reality of the statement, in a world where it feels like, and I've been a tiptoe around this a little bit, because like, as someone who used to make a lot of drama videos and actually realize that they're shit and make the world a worse place and stop doing it. A lot of, in our world, this is going to sound conspiratorial, there is a proxy war going on between a lot of large streamers. And Ludwig has been lumped into the Hassan universe. And that means that there are people out there who quite enjoy tearing down Ludwig no matter what. Whether he does something bad and deserves to be torn down, sometimes that does happen, or whether they perceive him to have done something. And so it becomes very difficult to even like, to live in a world around Ludwig at this point. Cause like, dude, I love Ludwig. It's like, but wait, why are these people doing this? This sucks. Not only on behalf of him, because like things are being said about him that are untrue, but it's like, wait, now people hate me or hate you, or are even like looking into things because of something that Ludwig didn't do, you didn't do, I didn't do, anyone didn't do. And that's what's made content miserable. Not miserable, but that is the worst part of making content for me now, for sure. And it's one of the best parts about being a small streamer. They've taken it away from me.
I mean, that's one thing I like about my position personally is, and one of the reasons, maybe one of the smaller reasons why I don't want to do Twitch or like my own YouTube content or whatever, is I have a podcast that I do goofing off with my friends who have been my friends for much longer than the content stuff. I have another podcast that is also with friends about topics that feel very much the subject matter, by being much larger than the space of streaming, sort of lets us feel disconnected from any of that. And then I have my regular job. So I feel like my like day-to-day like social media presence is actually pretty minimal. And in a weird way, I don't get that much shit. And it's kind of nice, because I want to keep it that way.
They would have to go to very unique places. Like, what are they going to do? Like, join the Patreon to like leave a hate comment, right? Versus someone who is literally live and you can get a rise out of them right then.
Which is way, way different, and just like not what I want to do or who I want to be, because of that constant perception. I think one thing that I try to ground myself in too is like when you're out doing, let's call it real stuff, like you're just out in the real world, people aren't really like this.
Not even a little bit.
Not even a little bit. Yeah.
Dude, I never leave the house, which is also unhealthy. And so like as a way, especially before the baby comes, to like do more things, I'm taking an improv class.
Yeah.
And like being a regular human that no one knows and like doing something and struggling and learning and being perceived as like a human and talking to them about like, hey, how's your family and stuff is so unbelievably refreshing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even if you can do it, you know what's funny is there's been a handful of times over the past year where I intentionally, I think maybe not even the past year. I think I've done this for a long time where I'll encounter somebody online that has a very seemingly hard line opinion about something that my initial reaction is like, what the fuck? And I'll kind of get into it like I do.
Sure.
I dilute, we get this into that interaction turns into like an in-person conversation or a call. And not one time have I regretted doing that.
Really?
As soon as I talk to the person, as soon as I have a reasonable face-to-face conversation where we just talk, I think it is so much harder when you're across from somebody like this. You can read their tone, you can read their body language, I think humans have a default desire to sort of like be connected and understand one another and form like social bonds. It's really hard to have a conversation with someone like this.
Tell them to Jubilee, buddy.
And then dislike them in that same way, right?
Or hate them at least.
Dude,
like you might dislike them, but like you respect their humanity.
Yes. Especially I think if the cameras are off, especially if it's not content. Like if me and you disagree really heavily about something, like there's a YouTuber that I had a conversation with at Streamer Games about, and we had a disagreement about a topic some people could call drama.
Okay.
And I knew that we had that difference in opinion, and he was there, and I asked if he wanted to talk about it, and we had a really amazing conversation. We talked for like 2 hours and just broke down all these different segments of it that would just be impossible to get to over text. And I have so much respect for that person. And I don't think we left that conversation like necessarily agreeing on everything, but I think we managed to like meet in the middle at so many points and like understand where each other is coming from. And
you're not monsters. You're not caricatures of an argument anymore.
Yes. And I leave that conversation believing that I imparted some like nuance and knowledge on that person, and also, but also vice versa. Like I feel like I understand the situation from their perspective way better. And yeah, I can just say fully, every time I've taken the time to do this, it has been worth my while, and it turns the little pit in your stomach you get when you interact with somebody negative online into like a just cleanly positive emotion instead. And I really like that because it proves to me that like, even if this guy is like being a maniac online, that I perceive as being a maniac, right? This person probably isn't fucking weird or crazy if we just were sitting across from one another. And it's part of my reason for like hating certain types of comments so much that people wouldn't say in person, because I know if we talked directly, it wouldn't be like this. And yeah, I hope I have more opportunities to do that. I guess. I don't know.
I think this is a great place to end it. I know you got things to do today. Anything you want to plug? Oh, I had a whole bunch of stuff about Yard D&D because I know you guys are setting it up, but I think we'll just have to do it another time. This is great. Yeah, we've gone a long time.
Who even knows if that's going to happen,
Bro, I said that once in a YouTube video and Nick got so mad at me. Rightfully so, to be fair, but he got very mad. So it's going to happen, but I'm not going to say anything else about it because the stuff I say will be lies.
It's happening for real this time. When does this come out?
This will come out, hopefully next Wednesday. So
Next
that would
Wednesday?
be the 9th.
Wait, so Yard D&D will have come out.
There you go. So people, oh man, that means we could have even talked about episode 1. Dude, we got to talk about your D&D sometime, but not now. We'll do a different thing. You have things to do tonight. You also are going on a big vacation, and I want to talk about you moving to Europe. So we're going to cut it. I think this was a more interesting conversation about like humanity and talking on the internet.
No, this was great. Thank you for having me.
Dude, thank you. I just sat here and listened. This is the best part of the job. I fucking love this.
Yeah, this is dope. This is dope.
All right, take it easy.